Now, a speculation around the passing of South Africa's ambassador to France, Nathi Mthethwa, continues. Justice and Constitutional Development Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi has called for an urgent meeting with the SA Police Service and the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. On Friday last week, Acting Police Minister Professor Firoz Cachalia announced that a team of investigators would be deployed to France in a bid to establish the full facts surrounding Mthethwa's passing. Now, for the latest on the investigation, let's now speak to SABC News correspondent William Denselow. William, a very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for your time. Earlier on, you were in conversation with the family spokesperson saying that the repatriation is expected to be on Thursday.
That's absolutely right. I'm stood just in front of the ambassador, the late ambassador's residence here in Paris behind me, and you're absolutely right. I've recently spoken to Dr. Buthikezi, who's provided an update when it comes to these repatriation plans. We understand that the documentation from the autopsy has been provided, which was really holding things up. So now the family can move forward with these plans of bringing him back home to South Africa. When it comes to the timings, well, we understand that because there's a lack of flight availability on Wednesday, that means that the flight that the family will be able to take with the late ambassador will take place on Thursday evening, arriving in South Africa on Friday. We can then expect the funeral proceedings on Sunday. And speaking to the family, having just visited the morgue, a sense of closure and opportunity to say some goodbyes, but obviously incredibly painful time for the family as well. I've just been speaking to the late ambassador's wife just a few moments ago. She was telling me a little bit that she feels still in the dark about how and why this might have transpired. She was telling me about how happy they were in the last few days before his death, going on long walks to their favourite boulangerie for his favourite croissants here in the French capital. Talks about long walks here in the city, as well as how excited he was for future opportunities when it comes to South African Monaco investment as a potential key plan for the country going forward, to build on some of those ties that he'd been working on between French and South African businesses over the past 12 months. Also speaking about how he was looking forward to preparations for major World War I anniversaries in the coming year as well. So plenty of planning for the future, putting South Africa's interests at the forefront is how she described things to me, which is really compounding that very apparent, very obvious sense of shock being felt here at the residence.
And of course, William, it's a difficult one for her because, I mean, she loves all things French. You think about their wedding, having a French theme, and she was in the country, whose culture and way of life she loves so much. But what is the latest with regards to the investigations? Because we're now seeing reports that are suggesting that the reports that his phone may have been found away from his body in the woods. Those particular reports may not be accurate.
Still plenty of speculation when it comes to this investigation. As far as the family is concerned, it is still very much ongoing, trying to glean further information as to what exactly might have transpired. Of course, a diplomat having two phones, certainly not something that is by any means unusual in these circles, but really the focus for the family has been squarely on the repatriation process. There is a degree of certainly relief in the way that the South African investigators will be coming to Paris. The family telling me that they're very pleased with how the French investigators have handled things, telling me how professional they believe they've been, how transparent as well, keeping them informed of these developments. But of course, they say they are certainly grateful that a team of South African investigators will be joining this process. And important to reiterate that this isn't a parallel investigation. This is a coordinated effort between the French and the South African teams.
And William, you also had a very difficult moment there with the family spokesperson speaking about the moment he was able to see his body
That's absolutely right. Of course, it's important to remember just the sense of shock and how unexpected this incident, of course, was for the family, and then this investigation immediately begins. So this was the first opportunity really for some members of the family to say goodbye, to get a little bit of closure as part of this process. So certainly this was seen as an opportunity to say some goodbyes, to really have that moment with the body, with the late ambassador, and then to be able to move forward from this state of limbo where it's really been for the past few days, to finally have a little bit of momentum when it comes to the repatriation process. Now have this documentation that the family have long been waiting for. They were hoping that it would come through by today. It indeed has, and now the planning process well underway to get the family back on flights back home to South Africa on Thursday, arriving in on Friday, and then for the funeral to begin this weekend.
Yeah, William Denselow, thank you so much for that update, and we'll continue then to track your reportage on this particular story, as we now do understand. You can see on the side of your screens that the repatriation of the remains of the late ambassador to France, Nathi Mthethwa, expected to be on Thursday. Family will then touch down on Friday, expected, and as William says there, that they are expecting to have the funeral this weekend. So we'll keep you abreast of this particular issue. My colleague there, SABC News correspondent William Denselow.